and a bro fist to you all, like this. Yeah, baby. Told you, Keely. Told you I'd get it sorted. No worries at all. This is me looking like semi-homeless and exhausted. I am really tired. How do we solve that, one might say? In the healthiest way possible. Kind of monster. It's tasty good. It's tasty good. It's exactly what makes me feel better. I feel like I'm holed up in like Gotham City when Bane's in control. I'm like that kind of guy. I've been trapped in this room for about the last 48 hours. It's really sad. That's what I've been doing, which is just terrible. Yeah, I was just explaining to the audience that I've been working so hard. Well, not even that hard, really. Just dealing with stuff that I've only eaten Mikados today. That's all I've eaten. I'm like homeless as fuck. It's so tragic. It's not because I can't afford food. We literally just haven't had time to go shopping. It's one of those things. A number of things happened yesterday. The Monday video isn't up yet, or it will be by the time the YouTubers see this one, so it's all good. It's coming out shortly. For a number of reasons. One, I spent like 3 days doing it, which was cool. I worked over the weekend. Ghosty came around on Sunday, so I didn't work Sunday night. We played Dead Island, which was cool. And I worked all Monday on it. Awesome. But it's one of those videos. The big Monday video requires tweaking. Like, I do it in sections, right? So if it's a top 5, that's like 9 sections. It's like the 5 bits I'm talking about, and then intro, outro, and bits in between. All that kind of stuff. So I do them 5 individual pieces, because it makes it easier for me to work with. Because each piece takes, like, you know, a couple of 100 bits and pieces. And then I noticed that, like, maybe I missed a letter or something. Or there's a transition out of... I try and do a clip that lasts about 4 seconds. So it might be a 2.5 minute section, and each clip is like 4 seconds long. And so I try and work it. So every 4 seconds you see something else. Keep you interested, keep you engaged. And it just builds up and up and up. And then you render it out, which means turn it into an actual video. And then you watch it back, and there is some fucking thing in it that just isn't right. And it drives you crazy. Anyway, so I planned to finish it up. I'd done the bulk of the work, and I was ready to just polish it all up and put it together last night. Until various things occurred. Emma has decided that we need a new couch, new sofa, without asking me, which is awesome. She's decided to buy one herself, and she's decided to do this by selling our old one first. Yeah. It's more because Ben has, you know, while he was a puppy, he's kind of torn threads and shit up, and it's like, it looks tatty, it looks old, and for Christmas she decided, we always get something for the house for Christmas. That's generally the plan. We would need a new sofa. Okay. So off she decides, without telling me, oh, the people are coming tonight to get the sofa. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, I've sold the sofa. Right, oh, okay. One of those things that must occur in the outside world of my box. My virtual world, I'm very much on the finger of the button, you know what I mean? But outside this room, I don't know what's going on. There's all sorts of shit going on. There's countries at war. I don't know. It's one of those things. Okay, she's also sold our bed out of the other room, the spare room, which was a waste anyway. When we moved in, I said, don't buy a spare bed. All our friends are old enough to make their way home. True enough, 9 months we've lived here, 2 people have stayed in that bed. That's it. It's a total waste of a room. So she sold them. Anyway, this couple turns up with this boy. Young boy, I'd say about 15 or 16 years old. I was working. I didn't want to be involved. I certainly didn't want to carry anything. Right? I don't want to be the guy who fucking carries the things for the other people. If you're going to buy a couch, bring someone who can carry a couch, motherfucker. We're providing it. So I was in the room, I'm working away, and I hear footsteps coming up the stairs. I turn around, I get up, I'm like, hey, how's it going? This kid, right, 16 years old, looks into the room. He's like, Willy Wonka, right? He must be into computers. And he's like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. He's like, is this... Like, it was the unspoken thing. He's like, is this a gaming room? And I look at him and I'm like, well, yeah, it's kind of an office as well. And he's like, what's that map? I'm like, oh, man, I hate explaining the bro map to people because they just don't get it. Like, why are all those people fisting you? And then all these fisting jokes come out. I'm like, no, those are awesome people. These are people who watch me and stuff like that. I make videos for YouTube. And he's like, you make videos on YouTube? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, right. And who are these people? I was like, well, they're people who, you know, who watch the show and stuff, and they send me pictures, and I've been out and met them. I was telling about Germany. This kid was totally into it. He was like, oh my God, you went and met people? I'm like, yeah, we went to Germany, we met loads of people. It was fucking awesome. Looking to do it again later in next year. And he's like, this is just incredible. And his dad, who I presumed was his dad, started saying, hey, get in here and start looking at this bed. Turns out, I was in the company of people who I seriously did not like in any fucking way whatsoever. These people, who were a lady and a dad, apparently this was his son, not hers. And he had been homeless for 9 months. Right? Now you may be asking, how can a son be homeless when these people are here who should be guardians? They explained to us and spoke about this child as if he was a dog. Seriously, it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. They called him it while he was stood here. They said they had been cruel to be kind because she works in the bureaucratic side of the homeless system. And the best way of him getting his own place was to go into care. I'm sure this kid had some problem in the past, like maybe some drugs or something. He definitely looked a little bit, you know, shaky. Certainly not on drugs now. And I was listening to this, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on? What are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, it's cruel to be kind. So he was been in care for about 6 months. This kid was like, well, no, 9 months. And he's like, oh, was it 9? I was like, you don't know how long this kid has been in care, in a foster care? And then he started explaining, yeah, I mean, I kind of see the point, but, you know, you had to share rooms with a lot of criminals and stuff. And I'm like, what's going on here? What the hell is going on? This is really fucking weird. And she was a cheeky twat. And she said, oh, well, he hasn't got anything. He's just got his first place. We're trying to outfit him with everything today. You better appreciate it. Like, you know, of course he appreciates it. Maybe you won't send him back to the home, right? I don't know what the fuck the story was. It could have been an asshole. He could have been someone who really terrorized his family. I don't know. But it just came across as really rude. So I helped. Like you do. I helped. I carried the couch down. I carried the bed down. This guy was like the skinniest thing that's ever lived. So I was like, I'll get the mattress and stuff, right? Okay, chill the fuck out. I said, sit down, man, and check out some. And he was watching some of my videos. And it was all cool. And he was just loving being in here. And he was like, oh, I want to send you a picture. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. It's okay. He's like, no, I'll send you a picture. So he took a picture of himself on his phone. And hopefully we could put that up somewhere, which would be pretty cool. He was a nice kid. Nice kid. And I helped him pack everything away. And then his father asks if he can have our bedding. It's like, what are you going to do with the bedding now you haven't got the bed? And before I could open my mouth, I was like, Emma's like, you can take it for an extra £10. Like a fucking boss. She was like, yeah, it's another tenner. Fuck you, man, you're an asshole. And he took the stuff as well, which was fucking crazy. It was crazy. It was a weird situation. Anyway, after that, I was kind of really drained. Then I started getting the messages that the live show was massively out of sync. Oh, awesome. So I had to abandon doing the video and continue to try and fix this sync problem. I re-downloaded the live show about 9 times. Always massively out of sync. And it took me most of the evening. I just gave up. My brain had melted. I was like, I'm not doing anything else. I'm done. I'm going to watch Emma play Luigi's Mansion. I could hear her playing it downstairs. I'd had enough. I'm going to go and do it. So it was all pretty cool. I went and watched Emma play Luigi's Mansion, which kind of frustrated me more than it should have done. She's catching boos badly, but she's getting better, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I also started receiving a ton of emails, which will be the topic of today's daily, and that is, of course, fire mages and their nerfs. Ooh, the sky is falling. I must re-roll. They've killed the mage class. Oh my god, Preacher, have you seen what they've done? Yeah, I have. It's fine. I'm not sure what else you want me to say, but I will say more on this topic. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I checked all the World of Vlogs before the daily, actually. I was finishing up the Monday video. And I thought, I've got to check this out just to make sure before I make an ass of myself. I checked all the World of Vlogs. Fire mages are fine. Absolutely fine. They're in a good place. Sometimes they're even still the top. But they're not overwhelmingly at the top. If you check World of Vlogs, which you should be able to do now, because I've done 2 videos on how you check World of Vlogs, you will see they are all fire mages on pretty much every single fight besides stupid tank fights. Pretty much all fire mages. Yeah. There's something wrong there, isn't there? Because not all of them are the best players in the world. You know what I mean? Fucking fire mages were overpowered. Nothing weird whatsoever. Just fire mages everywhere, burning everything to death, which was great. Every class has its moment in the sun. I've told you this repeatedly. People are like, my DPS sucks, should I re-roll? No! Because if your class actually sucks, it will be buffed at some point. They're not overly quick on doing it. And if your class is overpowered, you will be brought down to a normal amount. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Fire mages are okay. Now you have some choices. It's actually a good thing. If you preferred Frost, Frost is equally viable. Fire's still probably ahead. Arcane is boosted, there's no doubt about that, and it's pulling off some great numbers, but Arcane's kind of dog shit to play. So I kind of hope Arcane isn't the way it's going, because Arcane just sucks nuts. Arcane's fucking terrible. But overall, mages are in a good place. They're in a really good place. But that is not the crux of what I want you to say. There is about 30 to 40 threads, some of them about 20 pages long on the WoW forums, moaning about how people are re-rolling, I'm killing myself, Blizzard overdid it, that's bullshit, that's all dog shit, you should have seen it coming. What I will say is this should not have happened. No! It should not have happened. This situation should not have occurred. I, more than anyone, have boasted to the world about how great fire mages were. And are. I have. I was the #1 proponent of fire mages. If I was given the choice to re-roll by some raid guild I was a part of, I would choose a fire mage. Any day of the week. They're just so much fun. The problem is this. And this is the problem that should not have occurred. The problem is that they scaled far too quickly. Now, there's a number of reasons this happened, which one can argue is out of Blizzard's control. So this is going to be a little bit more of an advanced discussion, more so than the usual basic stuff I try and provide you with, but it's something you guys need to understand if you're to cope with major changes to your class. When Blizzard makes a new expansion, they should put down a plan, and I'm sure they do, in terms of gear. They look at what you should start with and what you should finish with, and then in between they just fill the gaps. Very, very easy. Very, very simple, okay? They just say, the item level of the first tier of raiding should be 507 or 509 or whatever it is. At the end, it's probably going to be about 570 something. What will the stats be of 570 something? Let's play in that gear and see what happens. Let's do some test dummy stuff. Let's do some raid stuff. Let's see what happens with this 590, whatever gear we're going to end up in. Now let's try it with this. Do we see a natural progression curve there? Yeah, let's stick to that. However, the problem then comes in, much like the Matrix, people making fucking choices and playing around with stuff. Okay? Playing around with stuff that Blizzard don't really think about. This is the issue with a game as big as World of Warcraft. Okay? There are people who are far better players than anybody Blizzard could employ. That's just the truth. There is so many people playing, there is guaranteed to be many, many people far better with the classes they design than them themselves. That's just natural, it makes common sense. There are also people who bury their nuts deep into the mythology of a class. Probably about as much as Blizzard do, but then they ask this question: what if? The what ifs are things people cannot predict. Okay? So that's the things people cannot predict. Who do I need to ban? Him? Are we banning this guy? That guy? Alright. Okay. 1 second. Firestar, I have moderated you. You might need to relog, but you could be a temporary moderator for tonight, Firestar. Ding. Okay. So, the problem is this. People go, what if? What if I do this? Fire mages were designed with this intention. You should be casting Fireball to see heating up, then you should Inferno Blast, and then you get your crit, and then you Pyroblast. The problem was secondary stats. There was an issue at the beginning of Cataclysm which Inferno Blast fixed, but it didn't fix the Mist of Pandaria problem. They created a solution in Mist of Pandaria which fixed a Cataclysm problem, instead of a solution for Mist of Pandaria which fits the Mist of Pandaria problem. And that is where things get fucked up. At the beginning of Cataclysm, for anybody who there, our stats, secondary stats like crit, haste, blah blah blah, were slashed so fucking badly, I mean stupidly badly, that we had things like 3 and 4% fucking crits. That's what we had when we capped. We had just the worst amount of crit, haste, whatever you could possibly imagine. It was fucking absolutely diabolically bad. That was just the way it is. So, Inferno Blast fixes that problem. For a fire mage, it relies on critical strikes. So if they can't get a lot of crit, it fixes it. it fixes it. It just works now because it works like that. In Mists of Pandaria, our secondary stats weren't that bad. It seems to be like a breakdown of communication in between. That's the problem there. It gets in between broken down. In Mists of Pandaria, our secondary stats weren't that bad. And then this happened. Hey, I have so much crit now that I can actually not use Inferno Blast anymore. And now I can just chain cast Fireball because my critical strike is so high that I'm likely to still get that Pyroblast crit. I don't need the guaranteed crit because I have such a high chance of generating a crit naturally. Therefore, you start to do absurd amounts of DPS because you're not losing DPS with this Inferno Blast business. You can cut it out entirely, and this is what Fire Mages started doing. We've got so much crit. Crit is so important. We're gemming for a ton of crit. They probably expected mages to be gemming for intellect. Probably, but it didn't happen that way. They worked it out and started saying, hey, we should gem for a shitload of crit. We should also just stop using Inferno Blast because we get a shitload of crits anyway. And then the DPS starts to scale exponentially. And this creates major problems. Major problems. For one, how will this class be at the end game? Ghostcrawler said it himself. We are really worried about Fire Mage scaling. The other issue that's come up from this that needs to really addressed is classes that are dependent on critical strikes. It should be abolished, in my opinion, because it really hurts them. Very much so. Elemental Shamans suffer the same thing with guaranteed crits. You cannot allow Elemental Shamans with guaranteed crits or Fire Mages with massive amounts of crit to hit that fucking hard. It breaks what's going to happen in the future because they scale so fucking high. Especially now critical strike chance does 200% damage. You cannot have Lava Burst hitting that hard because it guarantees a crit. It guarantees 200% and all it does is hurt the class further down the road. If you understand what I'm saying, a guaranteed crit is a really dangerous thing. A really dangerous thing. And with the ability to Inferno Blast to guarantee that crit and guarantee Pyroblasts, that creates huge problems. It really does, and it can only hurt further down the line. You can imagine if crit gets so high, and we can now start going into haste, Fire Mages will just cast Pyroblast. Why would they cast anything else? If they can get enough haste to get a super fast Pyroblast regularly, and guarantees massive amounts of crit, they will just cast Pyroblast. Pyroblast is supposed to be awesome. Pyroblast is awesome. It's a huge fucking fiery boulder of death. It should be amazing when it procs. Those wonderful moments that we enjoy when we get chain procs are just the glory of the class. They're so fucking good. And it fires them off and you just think, fuck yeah, I slammed you right in the face. We should not be there at tier 11 or tier, what are we, 14? Tier 14. We shouldn't be there now. We should not be there now, and mages were. The big problem that's occurred here is really undervaluing what people will do with those classes. I probably assume they expected intellect to be the way people would gem and reforge. They went pure fucking crit because it's so cool, which then allowed them to skip over intended uses of spells. Don't think Blizzard doesn't make mistakes. Remember, I'm doing the top 5 exploits video, which I can now kind of talk about, especially for the YouTubers. They will see it. They will have already seen it, more than likely. The game is suffers from the cleverness of the player base. If you look at the Lich King. When we were trying Lich King Heroic, I was amongst the few who were trying Lich King Heroic. We could not fathom how that fight could be done before the Enrage. It made no logical sense. The fight was crazy, especially for a balanced 10-man group like we had. It didn't make any fucking sense. Then Paragon killed it. My guild, especially with some of the top theory crafters I've ever met, and common sense people, all seriously decided that this fight couldn't be done until the buff stacked to a certain level. What happened? Paragon killed it. And we were all like, what? How can that happen? How can this possibly happen? How did they beat that Enrage? How did they deal with this? How did they deal with this? How did they deal with that? How did it happen? This can't be happening. Then the video came out. And what did we see? We saw them soaking the vile spirits. No one had considered that. We also saw them moving as a singular unit inside of Frostmourn's room. That makes sense. Moving as a single unit, that actually makes sense. Logical sense. Soaking the Vile Spirits, they are designed to kill you. Lol Paladins can bubble and soak them all. Blizzard then comes out and says, you know what? It's not an exploit. It is absolutely not what we intended to happen, though. Absolutely not. Spirit soaking on the Lich King, which is now considered the definitive tactic. Nobody tries to do it any other way whatsoever. Is never what was intended by Blizzard. They didn't even consider that as an option. They didn't. They were openly saying, hey, we really had no idea you would work out a way to consistently soak those Vile Spirits. That is not what we intended to happen in this fight. At all. They should kill you. If you don't kill them, they should kill you. What happened is, through very tricky maneuvering... Why would Emma call me now? Hello? I am in the middle of a show, but go ahead. Okay. Maybe. Can you... I don't know. I am in the middle of a show. Okay, shall I just stop doing the show and deal with it, or what? Probably. If you want. Bye. I can't understand how that can happen. I said, I'm in the middle of a show. I know you are, but let me just deal with this situation. Can you get a van for the weekend? Do you understand why having a partner is sometimes the biggest pain in the ass ever? I'm working right now. You guys enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's still work, right? I'm trying to create a show. She phones me to ask me about a van for the weekend. And she says, hey, you know what? You know what? I know you're working. I know you're doing a live show that you can't take a break on. I'm still going to ring you. Fuck my life. So, should have ignored the phone, man. Ignore the phone. I have to wonder, hey, look, some of you might say you're working, be professional, ignore the phone, right? She knows I'm doing a live show. If she's ringing me now, it could be important. I can't possibly ignore that. She knows above anybody I could be doing a show. I can't ignore it because it might be really important. Why else would she ring me in a show? Oh, I know! Because we need to get a van for the weekend. And I'll deal with that, of course. I'll deal with it. Fuck me. Anyway, as I was saying, players come up with really amazing, wonderful ways of dealing with bosses that Blizzard just doesn't fathom. They do it all the time with classes. This creates huge problems in terms of gear. Fire mages are pretty fucked now in terms of where they're going to be. They've nerfed their crit down, so you get tons less crit. They've reintroduced a touch of RNG, but not enough to dwarf the class. The DPS is more than relevant, and you're probably going to see a more consistent spread out amount of Pyroblast. Maybe even using some more Inferno Blast for those of you better geared. It's fine. The problem is now, this is what irks me. This is what really gets me down about these kind of changes, is all the gearing you will do between now and probably mid-late expansion will just be to push you back to something you've already played. That's what pisses me off, is you'll be gaining things like Critical Strike, you'll be gaining things like Haste and Intellect, and you'll just be going back to where you previously were. A lot of the progression sense in your class feels devalued. It feels lost. It's like, oh, I finally got all this awesome gear, now I'm playing like I did 2 months after the expansion launched. That's what really pisses me off. It's happened a ton to me. Via tanking, same sort of thing. That shouldn't have happened. Dodge and parry. Okay, as a tank, they should know how much dodge and parry a tank should have at the beginning of the expansion and how much he will have at the end of the expansion. It's pretty easy to work that out because they designed the gear, right? There's no difficulty there. But then we have fucking Sunwell Radiance, ICC Radiance, whatever the fuck it was called, because they've just made it go too high. And you just think, I'm now back. As a tank, I felt like I was playing in the gear that I had when the expansion launched. I felt like I was back in blues. And it just felt stupid. It's like I've got to get more and more gear so I just don't go back to where I was. which is just awful sense of progression. I don't want to fight with a fucking camel on my shoulders, right? I really don't want to do that. I'm a tank. I build my character exactly with the stuff you provide. You gave me this stuff, right? You gave me this gear, and I work with it. But you gave me this gear and you took it all away at the same time. You were like, hey, here's all this gear that we designed, with all the stats we designed for you to have. We're now going to take it all away. And that really just pisses on my bricks. It does. It fucking really just... It pissed me off so much that I genuinely felt really angry. Because I'm now going into an instance, it's like, oh yeah, well, you've got 25% less avoidance or whatever it was. And it's like, well, why? You designed this gear. I don't want to feel like I'm playing with a fucking dead horse all over my back all the time. I'm now suddenly taking so much more damage in here that I had to get 2 sets of gear. I had to... This is what happened, okay? This is during TBC. I would go into the Sunwell and get my ass kicked. Bosses like Brutalis, which would even favour other classes. The Sunwell Radiance was so dramatic that it favoured pinging other classes like Feral Druids because they could just mitigate it more. Because avoiding it wasn't much of an option. I then built a gear set on my warrior that was so designed around dealing with Sunwell Radiance that I would go and do the Black Temple farm and Hyjal farm. Archimond couldn't fucking hit me if he fucking had a laser sight, right? I would stand in front of fucking Archimond and it would be like fighting a blind retard trying to fuck a doorknob. That's what it would be like. It would be fucking terrible. He'd just be like, ugh, ugh, ugh. And I'd just be like, this is so fucking boring. Especially as a warrior, you get no fucking rage. I would just stand there with this fucking giant guy. His fist is bigger than me. He can't hit me. I'm a Tauren. It feels retarded. It looks retarded. This kind of stuff should not happen. It should never fucking happen. It's so stupid. And this is what really bothers me. It doesn't bother me that mages were nerfed in any way. They needed fixing. There was a problem. But that problem should not be there. Fire mages were doing fantastic DPS on the PTR. That's where you know there's a problem. Their DPS was more than fine on the PTR and they were decimating some fights. That's when you know there's an issue. Not now. What are we in now? December? It's retarded. It's fucking stupid. Other classes getting buffed by 100% extra damage. Combustion nerfed so heavily. It's like, you know this is happening. How can you do this? How can you not see this coming? I understand that, yeah, people are pushing more into crit. Okay, we can see a problem occurring here. Maybe we should do something about it. People were gemming Critical Strike on the PTR. They were. On the beta servers. They were gemming crit then. They were gemming crit since they capped. We've now finished the heroic progression of this tier, and they're talking about patch 5.2 now. Now we need to nerf it dramatically. You guys should see this coming. You guys design the gear. You know the stat weights. The stat weights are on every single fucking WoW Maths website the day the expansion comes out. The day they are confirmed that's their spells, the stat weights come out. You should see, Blizzard, that crit is higher than intellect. For this reason. They just run a sim. They just run Simcraft. Player designed. The stuff Blizzard have must be so much better than this. They just run a sim and go, you know, over 20,000 casts, crit comes out ahead. So gem for crit. It takes them 10 fucking minutes to do that. It's terrible. It's so stupid. And this gear progression just fucks everything up for the future. It really does. You don't realise the long-term consequences of this kind of nerfing. And the complete lack of progression that we feel by just gearing more and more to feel like we were now. We might be playing for another 8 months before we feel like we did today or yesterday before the hotfix. That's the thing that really pisses me off. That shouldn't happen. You shouldn't give people a nuclear weapon and then give them a pistol and tell them they can have the nuke back in 8 months. It's it's just so unforgiving and it's not friendly at all. Well, that's my rant anyway. Overall, Fire Mages needed it. You should have seen it coming. Stop crying. Stop being a little bitch. Other side of this is the mechanics of this stuff should not happen. It should not happen. At all. It should not happen. And if your players who you've got on your internal testing team, whoever they might be, are not discovering things like stat weights and what will happen if we gem for crit, then you need better people, don't you? Clearly, there's major issues there. And I'm not talking about just fire mages. Fire mages are the ones that are really crying right now because they were dominating the DPS. All the really bad fire mages, I think, are the ones really crying. Most common sense fire mages know there's a problem. Everyone else needs to fucking sort their head out. On a good bit of good news, let's finish on a bit of good news, and I'll take any brief questions that we've got, and then I need to finish my video. They are changing Transmog. They're changing Transmog. Transmog will now be broadened, and this is pretty cool. This is going to be changed so that things like two-handers will all be able to be interchangeable, which is pretty awesome. So if you've got a two-handed mace, but you've got like an ash candy sitting in your bank that you want to transmog, you should be able to do it. In patch 5.2, this is coming. Which is fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. They're also going to remove the restrictions for one-handers as well, because some people have got like main hand, and the other one's main hand, and you kind of want two main hands on your sword, so the same thing. They're removing that as well. They're changing valor points, but I wasn't particularly asked about that. It was never really difficult. It's more for the raiders who just raid. I only raid, I want my valor cap. Okay, you can get it. But it's more to do with the transmog stuff. I found that fucking awesome. So 5.2... happy transmogging days. You should be able to get exactly what you're looking for with your transmogs. I know how much you guys are raring for that to happen, so I hope it works out for you guys. I will update you if that changes in any way. So, any quages? Any questions? Quages? What the fuck is the word quages? Any questions before I go back to work? Doesn't matter to Ali. What about legendaries? They haven't mentioned legendaries as far as I know. Yes, you should be able to change things like two-handed axes to two-handed swords with your transmog. That should happen. I don't know about legendaries. Warlocks are tomorrow. Warlocks are tomorrow. I'm going to be working late on to finish this. Make sure that's out for you tonight, the Monday video. And I'm going to just relax tomorrow and do the Warlocks tomorrow. And have a great old bit of fun with that. I'm quite looking forward to it. Everyone's excited about the fucking... Transmog, everyone's going a little bit wild with that. Fuck, look at Smosher demanding. Where's the Warlock videos? Where's the other half of World of Logs video? Dude, come on, man. I'm working my ass off. Look at the black lines. I'm getting there. My plan for the remainder of the week is thusly. I'm going to film Warlocks tomorrow. I will produce those videos tomorrow night and probably a bit of Thursday. Then Thursday afternoon I'll be filming Way of the Warrior 2. And Friday I'll be doing the Monday video. So I'm still struggling for time for the Way of the Warrior 2. I'll get there, I suppose. Give me a break, I need to find a van. Thanks, guys. And then next Monday's video. And then the guides are done. So that's when content will slow down till about Christmas. Content will slow down. So I might just throw in some Let's Plays and stuff, or anything that I'm doing with the Way of the Warrior 2, just to keep you guys up to speed. But I did tell you it was going to happen. For a couple of weeks, it's going to slow down a little bit. I need to do the Way of the Warrior 2. I need to get it done. And remember, on Saturday, we're filming Way of the Warrior 2 with you guys. Saturday, it should be starting probably about, let's say 8 PM. Say 8 PM in Gadget Zan. We'll be filming in Gadget Zan. Alliance and Horde are welcome to that. As many of you as possible, just come down to Gadget Zan and we'll get that filmed. It's on EU Sylvanas. If you want a raid invite, we'll sort that out through Real ID, so you don't have to transfer realms or anything like that. We will literally get you guys a raid invite through Cross Realm Zoning, and you should be able to come along. It should be awesome. And after that, we're going to be filming in Booty Bay, but that will be Horde only, I'm afraid. That will be Horde only. So we'll do the Horde and Alliance stuff first on Saturday. Then we will be off to Booty Bay. I genuinely just hope we don't get trolled too much, otherwise we have to do it again, which is kind of annoying, but we will be filming there. Stark raids, I don't know. I don't know about the Stark raids. I don't do the Stark raids. So hopefully it's going to be cool. Alright, ballers, I'm going to see you again. Have great fun. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully when we can talk about the exploits video. Alright, see you later, guys.